How's it going? Happy Macintosh 2023. Today we're going to take a look at my Macintosh SE FDHD. As you can see, something's not right. There's no drive activity, so I'm going to have to open it up and find out what's going on. I've had this machine for 13 years now. It came with the 1.44 megabyte floppy and a 20 megabyte Connor SCSI hard drive. I've since replaced the hard drive with a ZIP 100 disk, SCSI. I've modified the Molex connector for the hard drive with a floppy connector so I can power the zip, but also kept it a Y cable so I can use an internal SCSI hard drive. A while back I had a 2.5-inch wide SCSI drive, like for a server, and an adapter to the 50-pin SCSI, but the adapter was cheap and fried the drive, so maybe Blue SCSI is a possibility in the future. I've also replaced the noisy fan with a normal 80mm fan. Connected to the original fan connector. Made a little bracket out of an old PC power supply to hold it in place. This one has the Fralin Ethermac SE card, which is a nice Ethernet card. It's easy to get get files onto the machine over Apple Talk from one of my other computers, but the Ethernet's not too useful these days for much else. I've been on IRC with this, but it's too slow to really follow the chat. After reseating the zip drive's SCSI cable and power, it's now booting, as you can see here. And it's a bit slow. One of the reasons I don't use this machine too much, most of my Mac memories are from the LC era, but yeah, the LC obviously is a tad faster, but as you can see here, got 4 megabytes of RAM and System 7.0.1. If we go into the hard drive, got about 25 megabytes available on a 100 megabyte zip disk. So I'm gonna go check out Photoshop here, 1.0, but you can see I got a bunch of apps on here. There's also a ton of games on this disk as well. Mouse isn't in the greatest shape to really play because most of the classic Mac games are really mouse heavy. And if for some reason the game used arrow keys, the layout on the Apple keyboard is sort of reminiscent of how the cursor keys are on the Commodore. It's just not the easiest to use. But here we go, Photoshop 1.0. Yeah, it opens up kind of quick, but it's pretty slow to use. So I'm going to create a new document here and just show some of the pain of using these apps when you're used to running it on 64 gigs and 20 core processors and whatnot. But yeah, let's go ahead and make our workspace here full screen and zoom in a bit. In this primitive Photoshop. There we go. Go ahead and get a gradient here and just fill the workspace with it. You can see it takes quite a while to calculate that. We are running obviously at 8 megahertz here, so it's not too impressive, but at the time this machine was fine for what it was. Keep in mind that although it has extra RAM, it's the same processor as the original Macintosh, and the Plus, and the 512K. So, a lot of machines use this 68,000. But yeah, so let's add some text here. It's a little different from newer Photoshop where you type right onto the image. This has to render it. Also in these earlier Photoshops, there are no layers kind of how Paint.net used to work, or earlier versions of GIMP, where you kind of have what you're working with highlighted, and then once you deselect it, it's kind of burned onto your workspace. So yeah, uh, that's pretty much it. And all in all, it's a nice machine. Uh, I can't wait to see how the Warp SE project turns out to give this little thing a speed boost, possibly. Um, but yeah, because this is kind of clunky and hard to find a spot to work on, so when I do um, do some classic Mac stuff, I use my blue and white G3 because I can just throw it under the desk and hook it to my work monitor. Um, I guess even more harder to use is the iMac G3, even though I got the Indigo. It's a nice visual piece to have on the desk, but it takes so much room. And I don't have that much room to work at the moment, so but yeah, thanks for watching.